Hi guys, it's Nikki. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about If You Don't Have Anything Nice to Say by Leila Sales. And if you can't tell by this title, I hated it. Before we start this video, I just want to apologize for any noise you might hear going on outside. Like I said, it's New York City. There's going to be cars and buses passing, and also my AC has just been installed, which means the window is constantly open, and yeah. Honestly, I wish that I were as articulate as Marines from My Name is Marines or Adriana from Perpetual Pages, but I'm not, and I'm going to try my best anyway because I think we need to talk about this. So if you don't know Leila Sales, she wrote This Song Will Save Your Life, which I did really enjoy, Tonight the Streets Are Ours, and I forgot what else. I only read This Song Will Save Your Life, and I thought I was really going to like this one, and I'm not gonna lie, it's partially because of the colors of the cover, because I really thought that I'd be getting some good old bi rep here, but no. If you don't know what this book is about, it's about a girl named Winter who is a former spelling bee winner and an aspiring writer, and one day she posts something online and it ends up going viral, and she is shamed for it publicly. She knows she messed up, but does that mean it's okay for people to send her hate mail and death threats? Did she deserve to lose all that she's lost? And is I'm sorry ever good enough? Decide for yourself. I thought that this was going to be a really good, maybe not complete solution or definitive answer to call out culture on the internet, but I thought it would be important to discuss that kind of thing because, you know, it's pretty prevalent in today's society. So essentially the novel is about Winter dealing with the aftermath of her statement going viral online, the consequences she now has to face, and how she moves on from there. Can she move on? Does she deserve the punishment she was given? Before we get started into talking about what I liked and didn't like about the novel, I'm going to read to you what it was that Winter posted online that went viral and caused her life to completely turn upside down. I'm Winter Halperin. I'm the one who went online after the National Spelling Bee and posted, "We learned many surprising things today," like that, I can't actually pronounce this word, so I'm just going to write it on the screen, is apparently a word, and that a black kid can actually win the spelling bee. Yeah. So this is page 3. And at the point that I'm reading this, I think to myself, this is not going to be an easy read, because when I read the blurb at Barnes & Noble, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be interesting, but maybe, I don't know, I hope it's handled well, because I honestly really don't like books that are all about, like, I'm sorry if this is going to be more noise, but I think I'm just going to turn on my AC, and it's probably going to drown out whatever's outside, at least a little. Ah, what a lovely sound. I'm just gonna speak over it. So I really don't like books that are all, I don't know, they paint the internet in this like evil light. Like, I don't know, every time there's commentary on the internet today, it always seems to be only the negative things and never the good things as well, which is really frustrating because the internet is actually pretty great. You know, obviously it's got its faults, but there's lots of good things out there. So first, I'm going to tell you what I did like about this novel. Yeah, nothing. I cannot think of anything. I can't feel bad for Winter at all whatsoever because she went ahead and said that. And you may be thinking, Nikki, people make mistakes, she could change, she just has to be educated, you just gotta, you know, you really gotta learn things that are not okay, and that's how you change your behavior. And I would say, okay, but Winter never does that. Winter never attempts at all to do that. Instead, she spends the majority of the novel, and when I say majority, I mean up until her, like, second apology, right around the last like 30 or 40 pages or so, she spends all of that time blaming everybody else for what she did and said. A reporter named Lisa Russell, who did know Winter because her mom is like a parenting expert or something, and the reporter had gone to interview Winter and her sister to see, like, do these parenting techniques actually work and all that jazz. So she knows Winter. She had it doesn't say where she posted it, but I'm just gonna say tweet. She retweeted what she wrote to her 15,000 followers, and it blew up. That's how it went viral overnight. And Winter spends like the entire novel blaming her for it and blaming everybody else, and basically it was just a lot of like, oh, everybody's just so mean, nobody wants to give me a chance, blah, 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 blah. She's upset because her title as a National Spelling Bee winner has been revoked, her admission to her college has been rescinded, and she's facing all sorts of consequences, and she's not happy about it, as I don't think anybody would be. But the thing is that Winter never attempts to better herself at all. She makes some sort of half-assed apology within the first like 50 pages or so, and essentially it's, I'm sorry that you were so offended by this tweet that was meant to be a joke. If you actually look at it this way, this is what I meant to say, this is why it's funny, and you guys just have to like take it lighter. For the sake of character development, I was willing to let that go, in the belief that Winter would redeem herself later on in the novel and understand why what she said was not okay. Even if she thought it was a joke, these things do affect people in real life. Microaggressions are part of something much bigger. I understand that it is part of like internalized racism, and we have to work to undo that within ourselves. I understand that, but it's still something that affects real people, you know? But Winter just completely disregards it, and the other characters do as well. Everybody just says things like, you didn't say anything that bad. Other people have said worse, but they've never gotten caught. You just got caught. They don't say anything outright malicious, and I think Leila Sales is trying to use that to kind of uplift her message, because she never has any of the characters, she rarely has any of the characters, or the characters that are important anyway, say anything outright cruel or what you would see as blatantly racist. Instead, she gets them to acknowledge those more violent acts and uses that as an excuse to make what Winter says okay. For example, I don't find it outright malevolent for what that's worth. You look at the blatant racial discrimination that is happening out there, police brutality, voter suppression, the mass incarceration of black men, and what you said doesn't hold a candle to that. So everybody basically says it could be worse, and therefore it's okay for you to have said what you said. You don't deserve all the backlash that's coming at you. And that's just fucked. Is what Winter said as bad as everything they listed? No. But is it still harmful? Yes, it is. And nobody wants to acknowledge that. Another big problem I had with the characters were her two friends, Jason and Corey, who are her two black friends, and that's how they're treated. The two black friends, like a title or some shit. Jason's first appearance in this novel is after she tweets what she tweets. He hasn't spoken to her, he hasn't reached out to her like her two other friends, Mackler and Corey, have, and so she goes to talk to him and finds that he has been hurt by her tweet. She tries the whole, but I didn't mean it, but you know that I was joking, and he tells her, but you understand that this is harmful to people like me. Even if you didn't mean it to sound the way that it came out, it still was said. And you have to acknowledge that. And he essentially takes on the role of just explaining race to the white character. That is his first appearance, is to explain what she's done wrong. And that just doesn't sit right with me. Like, his characterization is pretty much a womanizer, or just, you know, like going through all these girls. And also, he is there to tell Winter, no, you're wrong. That is racist. That's it. Then we have Corey, who is the friend that doesn't stop speaking to her after what she says, because he's that one black friend that says, it's okay for you to use the N-word, and so therefore, since my one black friend cleared it, I'm just gonna say it and you can't tell me no. It just doesn't sit well with me. And it sucks. That's literally all Corey is there for. These two black characters are used this way to kind of like uphold this white narrative. Winter's insistence that this wasn't her fault, that she didn't mean it, that this was all a mistake, that she's not racist, only made me angrier the more the book went on, because she never, ever, ever tries to right her wrongs. She never tries to understand why it's not okay to say these things, why it's not okay to make it a joke, why it's not even funny. She also gets very angry at Jason for not forgiving her. Jason also goes on Reddit at some point where they're talking about Winter and mentions, I used to be her best friend, but I don't think I can trust her after what she said, and Winter just villainizes him for this. It's just, how could he hurt me this way? How could he say that he doesn't trust me after I went out of my way to make a clearly racist joke? You see how ridiculous this sounds? I don't really appreciate this whole thing of making this black character seem unnecessarily angry. For example, early on in the book, Jason does not want to sit with Winter, Corey, and Mackler at the lunch table because he's still pretty upset and does not want to be near Winter. And they basically say, like, what's his problem? How can he be so upset? Blah, 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 as though he does not have justification in his feelings. At another point in the novel, the two friends try to get Winter and Jason to make up, and Winter apologizes. She says, listen, it wasn't cool of me to say what I said. I'm sorry. And Jason says, yeah, I really appreciate your apology. Thank you for that. And she gets upset. I widened my eyes at Jason. That's it? That's all you have to say for yourself? Jason, come on, meet me halfway here. You can also say sorry. I get that you're mad about the post, but that should have stayed between us. You didn't also have to make some big public statement about it. I'd say best friend is a stretch, I quoted him. Even if I trusted her before, I definitely don't anymore. Seriously? At least when I hurt you, it was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. Are we really doing this? You may say, Nikki, this is pretty early on in the novel, as you can see here, but Winter's behavior never changes. Later on, in the second half of the book, she finds a rehabilitation program for those who have been publicly shamed. And here is where we encounter some characters that would have made this intended message of the book go much smoother. Among these characters is a girl named Jasmine who is in a band, but when a really big, well-known band has auditions, she quits her former one and auditions for this one and gets in, but she's not allowed to play in shows just yet because the band says she has to, like, prove her loyalty, and what they mean by that is do sexual favors for them. Eventually she realizes that they're using her and she quits the band. The band just spins this story about her being some crazy fangirl and how she was so desperate for them, and so people online are calling her like a slut and all of this unnecessary stuff. There's also a character named Richard who has a 2.5-year-old daughter who is playing outside one day, and he goes inside for like a minute, and when he does, this tiger that has escaped from a local zoo comes into the yard and is approaching his daughter, and he immediately reacts by just grabbing his gun and shooting the tiger. But it turns out that the tiger is endangered, and now he's got all of these activist groups coming after him and saying, how could you do that? How could you kill this animal? Even though he was just trying to protect his daughter. These two characters, I feel like, did nothing wrong. Truly did nothing wrong. And if we had a novel about call-out culture when somebody really does not do anything wrong, then we could have these discussions about how far is too far and are we really seeing everything. But when we're talking about something like race and microaggressions and all of these things, it's just, it falls flat completely. The intended message is lost behind that stupid tone-deaf tweet. What makes me even angrier in this novel is that the characters are told that they have to send apology letters to the people that have expressed outrage to them. And so the characters who are all in this program all agree they don't want to admit that they did anything wrong. And to be honest, some of them really didn't do anything wrong. So I think this is a little bit unfair of them to have to do. But they all say things like, oh, so we should just apologize even if we don't mean it. And the people running the program are like, yeah, that's what you have to do. You don't have to mean it, just say sorry. And that's just so awful. What you really should be doing is learning what you did wrong and trying to fix it. Just take responsibility. Why is that so hard? Winter manages to get in touch with the reporter who retweeted her tweet. They have this discussion about what's fair on the internet and all this crap that I really could not stomach, because they are literally talking about this tweet that affects real people's lives, but they just don't want to acknowledge that it was Winter's fault. After they do that, Winter writes an article for the publication that the reporter works for, and the article basically says, we all make mistakes. We're all taught that we make mistakes when we're children, so why can't we all be nice? She honestly sounds like that one character in Mean Girls at the end that's just like, I just want to bake a cake full of rainbows and smiles and we'd all eat it and be happy. It doesn't work here. It does not work like that. If that wasn't enough to really get my blood boiling, the part that really set me over the edge is at the very end, when Winter is contacting people who have been publicly shamed and telling them that, you know, it's gonna get better. She's been through what they've been through. That may not sound so bad until you see who she contacts. She contacts a man who has an article written about him where he's married to this woman, but he goes on this dating app for gay men. He goes on dates with them, gets drinks. He reached out to anyone whose profile indicated that they worked on Capitol Hill, and if someone responded, Matt invited him out for a drink. And then he published an article about who they were. That's just fucked up. You just outed so many people, but what does Winter do? But I also felt sorry for Matt Reedy, because although he was the most hated person in the country, he was still a person. She writes him an email including, I only want to tell you that you're not alone. Lots of us have been through where you are. We lived through it, and if you live through it, you will come out of it different, but stronger and better than you could ever imagine right now. You are sympathizing with this man? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm very upset by this novel. I just think it went in so many wrong directions. Is there something to be said about call-out culture? Yes, absolutely. But I think if there had been a different approach taken to this novel, it could have been discussed better, because we do have to discuss it. But no, we had to go with this approach, and it's upsetting. This novel was the book form of all those people that say, oh, people are too sensitive nowadays, and oh, take things too seriously, and oh, things are too PC now. That means nothing to me. All that means is that you don't want to better yourself as a person, and that you can't understand. You do not have the capability to understand what others are going through, and not just that, you don't even want to try. That is just lazy to me. It's selfish, and we didn't need this. We didn't need this at all. I don't know what else to say. This is so disappointing. I wish I could articulate my thoughts better. I hope this video kind of made sense. If you read this book, let me know down below what you thought, if you agreed, if you disagreed. How did you read this? Because I didn't see a lot of people on Goodreads. A lot of people on Goodreads pretty much agreed with me. They just really couldn't empathize with this girl who does not want to take responsibility at all. But some people thought that, you know, although they did not agree with her at all, they thought that it was handled pretty well and that it gave people a lot to think about in terms of addressing call-out culture, which is good because we do need to discuss that, but I just wish it had been handled differently and with a different topic, because I just can't sympathize with her at all whatsoever. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry if this review was everywhere, or this rant review was everywhere. This was my first one, and I'm still trying to figure out how I'm doing this. I will see you guys next time. Bye.